Hi, Jim.
Hi, Matt. How are things?
All right. Was just watching my daughter play some basketball. So,
Oh, where do they play now? Are they at Cromrie or
well, my
Yalmouth?
daughter goes to Whitewater.
Oh,
So,
I was thinking of your little one.
no, this one's at, she's at Bigfoot High School tonight down in Walworth.
Ah,
Well, good evening.
Hey, John.
How are you?
oh, John,
How are you?
good.
Getting tired of my new routine though. Every day, walk the dog, plow the driveway. Walk the dog, plow the driveway. Walk the dog. Just never ends, you know.
Well, I'm in Florida at the moment, and we had tropical force winds on the beach, and the waves were good surfing waves.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to feel sympathetic, but it's a little hard. You were David, Aaron, Rick, Sue,
We have
Jim,
quorum. We have everyone but Mark Sullivan.
everybody, but Mark. So it's 7 o'clock. Well, I'll give it 1 minute. I have 6:59 and something. All right, why don't we go ahead? So,
Mark's coming in right now, John.
okay, I'll give it a minute.
He's in.
All right, so call to order the February 1st meeting of the Parks Recreation Forestry Committee. A roll call, I presume you have everybody indicated.
I do.
Okay, so move on to the first item, approval of the minutes from the January 18th meeting. I would entertain a motion to accept those as submitted.
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
All right, thank you, David. Second?
I'll second it. So
Thank you, Sue. Any changes, corrections, emendations, deletions? All right, hearing none, then all those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, minutes are approved. New business. We have two items as I've last seen. The first is about the bid to Northwestern Stone. So Matt, you want to take us through that?
Sure. Bid tab is included in the support. We received a total of 9 bids. As a reminder, this is funded from Park Development. The contractor, a couple of them raised concern to MSA just about that the scope of work. They wanted to note that, they didn't want to be responsible for damage to the entrance path with bringing trucks in and out, and noted that it may need to be replaced. MSA's estimated that if this did need to occur, it would be, an additional potential $10,000, which on a project like this, I have the ability to approve change orders up to 10% of the project, and it'd be well below that. But I just kind of wanted to call this out, that it's something that we may have to make that decision on during construction.
Right. You're happy with the bids in Northwestern?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's close to the engineer's estimate. I've not worked with Northwestern specifically on a project, but I know they've done other public works related projects for the city. Of no reason to believe that they're not a quality contractor. I think we budgeted this amount. It's a little bit over, but looking at the bids and how competitive things were, I'm confident this is a good bid.
Was there a significance to the yellow highlight?
That was just MSA, Kevin Lord of MSA calling out where there was some differences in the unit pricing.
Any other questions, comments? All right, I would entertain a motion to accept the bid of Northwestern Stone for firefighters Memorial Park.
I will make the motion to accept the bid.
Nick, thank you. Second?
Second.
All right, thank you, David. Any further discussion?
What's the turnaround time from start to finish?
That's so I think we're looking at somewhere in the 4 to 6 week range for total project.
All right.
I think what we're working on right now is when to start. And the question that we've posed to Northwestern Stone is, could they start at some time between now and March and have it done by mid-April? Or is this something that we're going to need to wait until August to do? And the question becomes, if they start now and are done by mid-April, the asphalt plants really don't open until May, so getting it buttoned up, but that'd be one day of inconvenience as opposed to kind of dealing with the trip hazards and other issues that are out there, through the spring season. So I think we're kind of waiting to hear back from Northwestern Stone on their thoughts and figure out a schedule that makes sense that's best for everybody.
Matt, the high school has softball out there starting April 1st, essentially. I mean, that's when they want to get on those fields. So are you being told by the high school that they're not going to do spring sports, or there's a tentative schedule issue? I don't.
My understanding, Mark, and I could be wrong, but that the start date for softball is pushed back. Softball and baseball is now mid-April, with the fall sports being moved to the alternate spring. So they pushed the spring season forward to start mid-April, and it concludes mid to late June. Now, knowing high school coaches, they will probably likely start before the official start date with captains practices or other things as soon as the weather permits being out.
But they won't be out at firefighters, right? So the issue is that if you're going to take firefighters out of the mix, you're going to have to get Orchid Heights and Parisi workable.
Which we normally have in
not Parisi, but
well,
I'll give you Orchid Heights, but there hasn't been a lot of work on Parisi for either freshman or JV teams, right? So you're going to have to provide them somewhere two fields that are.
Yeah. And that's what's been done in the past, right? With wet conditions at firefighters, they've typically started at Orchid and Parisi, right?
Yeah, and again, Orchid's always in pretty good shape because of the surface.
Yeah.
But I mean, Parisi's in terms of playing high school sports, Parisi's a dump.
And
Great for Little League, that was okay.
Mark, I think you know that our agreement with the district is when they use those fields during the school year, they maintain them, so they come out and prep. But we can try and do a little to see if we can't help out Parisi a little bit. The other thing, and this may be the pessimist in me that I'm accused of being from time to time, but I'm confident that there'll be a baseball and softball season. I'm not confident that competition is going to be allowed in Dane County. So they may be able to practice on those fields, but I'm not sure where games are going to happen. I don't want to get off on a tangent. I have my own thoughts on why that's not.
And I certainly understand that. I'm just saying that you're probably going to have to make another field available if you're going to take firefighters away. And I'm not even suggesting, right? So 6 weeks starting March 1st, that's going to be mid-April. They're going to be whatever is if it's a dry spring, somebody's going to want to be playing softball, whether it's games or practice on those firefighter fields. I'm concerned that if we take them away from them, we're going to cause more problems. And I know that Orchid Heights is one relief valve, but I think that you know, the city should be working with the school board to say, hey, we want to fix firefighters. We're going to have to take it out of the rotation till mid-April, end of April. We need to work together and figure out how to support your needs.
Well, I've got a meeting with Jamie and Ben tomorrow and can talk, or on Wednesday, and can talk about that subject specifically. I don't think we're going to make a decision on this anytime in the next week. So,
Yeah.
To what extent though does this take in the fields out? I mean, it's all
Well-
the sidewalk and drainage, and I would think that at some point, one or two of those fields could still be used. You wouldn't have the facility, but the fields aren't being torn up or anything.
Yeah, but you can't get in there.
Well, they can walk. They're high school guys.
Right.
You can't get into Breezy either. All right.
So they use the facilities while they're out there,
Mhm.
right? It's not just the paths. They're going to be in and out of the bathrooms. They're going to be in and out of the concession stands. So, you know, if the whole thing is under construction, that basically just limits the availability of usage.
and
Which
and
I'm not
again,
suggesting one way or another that we should stop. All I'm saying is that if the Northwestern wants to do it this way, which is fine, that means that we have to help the high school out with coordinating different facilities.
yeah, and just so that everyone knows that it was bidded with either a spring or a fall construction. So we
Right.
have that ability. There is flexibility within it. It was just a question posed to Northwestern of, you know, how long are you really looking at? And could this be buttoned up by mid-April? My concern initially was I didn't want to sit around and wait until August if there wasn't a spring season, and that then something was going to happen in the fall and we didn't have the ability to move forward with construction. So,
Well, personally, you know, Matt, you're going to be the one in a hot seat, and I'm sure you'll figure this out. I don't think you're jumping in the deep end of the pool without your fins on. All right, anyways, we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Item number 3, renaming us to something else, or the department. Matt, why don't you go on to this one?
sure, I've talked a little bit about this, and I thought with a one agenda item meeting, it was maybe the right night to put this on the schedule. We had considerable feedback on the survey, with 90% of those responding. We've had the discussions about most, especially young families, call us the Parks and Recreation Department or the Parks Department. We've gotten some calls, you know, people confused between public lands, public works. And I think, you know, that I've talked about that one of the NRPA has 3 pillars. Those are social equity, health and fitness, and conservation. And I think that, you know, when people hear park, they may have a preconceived conception of what that is, but it's a lot more of a diverse term. It includes forestry in some communities, and includes cemeteries. You know, nobody talks about aquatics, but that's just a given in recreation. Sports is a given in recreation. And from my perspective, conservation, conservancy efforts, wildlife management, all those things falls under the realm of parks. We have state parks. We don't have state public lands. So I guess I'm tipping my hand in that I think, you know, I look at it from the business side of that we run programs on the recreation side. And there's a lot of effort put forth nationally in branding parks and recreation. It's the parks and recreation industry, and it's what people typically associate with what it is we do. And that I think we may be losing some of that branding or recognition by being something other than parks and recreation.
So can you step back? And there's a couple different things we need to think about. You have a department name, and the commission has another regulatory name, right?
Yeah.
And so what are you asking to change? Are you asking to change the regulatory name, or you're asking to change your internal use department name?
Internal use department name.
Because the trees are still there and somebody's still got to do the forestry part, right?
Correct. And again, you know, we've had that discussion internally about parks recreation or parks recreation and forestry.
Mhm.
And what I mean, it's probably 50-50 across the state. To me, parks and recreation includes forestry, just like it includes aquatics, just like it includes sports.
So do you have an estimate of what it's going to cost to rebrand the whole city?
My intention is that it wouldn't cost us anything, just that on the website and brochures, initially we change it. And as we update, replace park signage, that we do it at that time, but that we don't go out and do a full-fledged effort to change the name on all signage.
So we're going to have confusion until all the signage is changed.
We have confusion
According
now.
to you now, right?
We have confusion now.
How? How so? On signage, how is there confusion on signage?
Not on signage.
But my point is that once you start changing the signage, you won't have a consistent naming convention. So you'll create more confusion until all of the signage changes over the next 30 years.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of people looking at signage and going, oh my God, this name doesn't match that other sign. I'm confused.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have a large amount of issues. They're going to type in the first, 2 or 3,
Okay.
and that's going to yield the same result as typing in the entire department name now would yield. So
My point is, I want you all to remember that when Matt comes back and asks for money to change the signage.
And we'll
Matt,
say,
you're not going to get more money.
Well,
well, you're just asking for opinion tonight, right? I mean,
And that if there's interest in this, I think we need to refer, it'd be my suggestion that you refer it to Commission on Youth and the Conservancy Lands Committee for their feedback as well.
Okay.
And then what I would plan to do is bring back their feedback to this commission before moving forward to council.
and help me understand, what is the incentive for the changes? What's driving the need to make the changes that we're talking about?
I'll put it in this perspective. If over 75% of the people called you and you answer the phone, Middleton Public Lands, Recreation and Forestry, they're like, is this the Parks Department?
Mhm.
That's the first thing they say. So I think the recognition in the community that, oh, they are the Parks and Recreation Department. I mean, that's just trying to tie into what people, it's a weird thing with, say there's 200 departments like ours in the state and we're the only one that is public lands. There's a couple of leisure services and everybody else is Parks and Recreation.
you just want to be like a TV show. I know that.
Hmm.
Just don't answer the phone. I mean, that's another solution. All right. So, other comments, feedback at the moment, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion to refer. Yeah, Sue, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm for the change. I think it would be a good change. And I feel the same as Matt feels. It's public lands is confusing when someone's thinking about parks and recreation. I know I was confused when I moved to town. I'm probably one of the people that called and asked, is this Parks Department?
And that's how you got stuck on the committee,
Through confusion.
That's right.
I think it's a good idea to have whatever governmental entities we're talking about try to align with common parlance in terms of the way things are described, so that people have a basic understanding and intuitive understanding of what they're after.
And I think as Mark pointed out, it doesn't change what the commission does at all. We still have the same level of responsibility and oversight and governance on the commission, just changes the name. I mean, I think it's fine. Ken, I would entertain a motion to refer to Youth Conservancy Lands Committees.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Sue. Is a second?
I'll second.
All right, David, I think you had second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the referral, it carries. That's all we have on the agenda. Any other things you want to share with us, Matt?
I just quickly share that today, the new athletic director at the high school, his name is Jamie Sims, for those that haven't met yet. It's a tough year to start a new job, and he and I co-drafted a letter with a lot of help from Rebecca Price that was sent to all of our athletic field user groups, basically stating that the school district is requiring use of a lot more athletic field space than they ever would have. I think the one that struck me is they'll have 14 soccer teams playing at the same time, with the fall and spring overlap with the newly aligned WIA seasons. So the need for athletic space, we basically sent out stating that the school district is going to be, monopolizing use of facilities, and that we're trying to do our best to assist the high school in carrying out, their sports, and that we're hopeful that everyone else can be a good partner and adjust accordingly. Along with that is most of the high school sports programs have direct tie into the youth program. There's a lot of the youth club coaches or board members are coaches at the high school level. And I think, are there going to be growing pains? Of course. Do we have agreements with other organizations that say they have use of those fields? Yes. Do I think everyone's going to come along to find a way for the high school sports teams to have a season? Yes. And, but it is going to require some flexibility and some creativity on everybody's part.
So, Matt, do you have a referral from council about adding a high school student to the committee?
Was that a motion that was ever made at council?
I believe it was. They're trying to change the ordinance to put a high school student on the committee. And Gabriella's comments back were that we shouldn't put a high school student on here without any real voting ability. So I'm concerned that if we do that and we make these committees, I know this is not on the agenda, but I'm wondering if you have that on the agenda for next time.
I can definitely make sure. I missed the referral if it was referred. And, one of the things about referrals is like these, I'll make sure that Rebecca and Mark are aware of the referral you just met. But I think a lot of the other committees just rely on staff paying attention, and maybe that's not my forte.
Yeah,
So,
I think CLC and Parks were asked to put a high school student on, and I'm just wondering what happened to that, because what that says now is that we're going to have to, I think it's supposed to go back to council, not tomorrow, but the following meeting.
so we meet right before that. So yeah, I'll make sure it's on the next agenda.
All right. Thank you, Mark, for the extra work. That's okay. All right, anything else? All right, hearing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn. The shortest meeting in the year. Great.
I'll
Motion
move.
to adjourn.
Nick, you moved?
Yeah.
Who else is going to second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. See you all in 2 weeks. Have a good
Okay.
time.
Have a good night, everyone.
Okay.